Welcome back to MarkOneModels. Today I'm going to be going over some of the new favorite tools that I have to help me make models better for me and for you. All of these are available on Amazon, and I will provide links to them in the description. I have found them very helpful. Hopefully you will too. Um, if you've got better suggestions for them, we are always looking for new and great stuff to use. So feel free to comment with your favorites, and your if they've got something better, absolutely, I want to know about it, because we're all here to help each other have fun. Okay, and with that, let's start off on my first new favorite tool, and that is this assortment of sanding sticks. I had originally been using various grades of sandpaper, and I would cut or rip or tear them down to size for what I was trying to do, and then do my sanding stuff. Sometimes it would tear through. Sometimes I'd just burn through it a lot. But I've decided that I need stuff that's got a little bit of an edge rather than gluing or taping sandpaper to a stick or whatever. I figured I'd get some sanding sticks to make things good. These are mounted on a foam board, so they do have some give to them. They are flexible to a degree. I haven't tried to bend them, but if they get wet, they are fine because of the foam. Also, if they get dirtied up like this one here, I just run them under water, and they clean right up. But we've got a large degree of grit on these, starting down at 80 grit and slowly working our way up to those higher end grits. And there's 3,000 in the middle there, 3,600, 5, 6, 7, all the way up to 12,000 grit. So these should help me get a good finish, and they will probably help you get a good finish too. So that is favorite tool number one. Favorite tool number two is my pin vise set. These came in a nice handy little carrying case. Here's the pin vise itself. If you're not familiar, just unscrew the end here, slide your drill bits down there, tighten it up, and then you start doing your drilling. This is a little carry case for all our regular looking drill bits. And then we've also got all these ones that are kind of like hand controlled. You don't even need to put them in the pin vise, but you can. It does open up wide enough to fit them. With these in particular, you got to be careful not to break them. They are quite fragile. I've heard that other brands may be a little bit stronger, but it also comes in being careful. I know one thing I have learned as to why mine break is when I put them away. You can see there's a little notch for each of these to fit, and if they're not lined up right, that's when you're going to get your snap and break them. But they close up and fit into the case like this, or much better than that. I'm just sitting it on top. Anyway, a case where I used these recently is the roof that I grabbed to make the Roadkill episode version of the Dirt Everyday Pacer, where it had a 56 Mercury roof on the top. Where that was something that came from the scrapyard, it would not have had a lot of parts. The body I used did come with molded in wipers. I sanded those off with our sanding sticks, and then I set about drilling out the wiper motor holes, so that would be accurate to what you would get from just buying the body panel in the junkyard. Likewise, when I added the rear parcel shelf into this, I wanted to make sure that I had screw holes for where all the speaker mounts and whatever other mounts would be available to it. So it gives it a little bit more accuracy. And so that's it on our pin vise collection here. We'll get back to the build in just a moment, but I wanted to take a moment to remind you that if you like these videos, feel free to give a like and subscribe and share with your friends. Don't forget to make sure your notifications are turned on so you won't miss an episode. You can also follow along on our Facebook, Instagram, and Threads pages, and you can find those on the links in the homepage. Now let's get back to the build. My third and final favorite new tool for today is going to be the JB Superweld light activated super glue. This is a fully contained unit, where we have our light element on one end. I will warn you, this pops off very easily. And we've got our glue in this side. It is a squeeze tube. You just take that off and you squeeze and apply this wherever you're going to put it. But now we'll put that back on. So we apply our glue where it's going to be, and then the instructions call for about 5 to 7 seconds on it. I do mine for about 10, and if it's something that's visible from multiple sides, I will hit it from every angle I can just to make sure that glue is dry. I used this most recently on my Revell Mac Fire Pumper snap kit. This is a model that I'm in the process of stripping so I can get it painted up the way I really want it to be. In the case of this particular model, the muffler normally mounts up here, and that means that the pipe hangs pretty low, especially since I'm doing this as a lowered vehicle. So what I wanted to do is chop out these two bars that were here and replace them with some angle iron type material and cut these two rods down to allow my muffler to sit lower and very much closer to flush with the bottom of the body. So for more specifics on this was a single piece of C-channel that I cut in half and to make the two pieces. I then put pie cuts in the corners where the corner pieces would be, which would allow me to fold these two pieces into the 90 degrees that they were in. Since they're not completely broken, they kept wanting to unspring themselves. So that's where the JB Superweld comes in handy. So I would apply my glue into those corners, and as I've said before, do our blue light, give it a 10-second count, and that would hold those angles tight for me. Since I was using it anyway, I decided I would use the Superweld again to attach it to the actual frame. So I had to put my glue in both against the running board and against the frame, and again, our 10 seconds on each spot. And because these had exposure on the other sides, I made sure to follow up with another 10 seconds over here and 10 seconds over here, likewise with the other bracket. With that all in place, it gives my running board stability and it allows my muffler to sit nice and flush. And that will be a cool build when it is done. So that about wraps up our new tool showcase here for today. If you guys have comments on other tools that you think are good to have, a nice go-to tool for you, a nice must-have for your tool collection for building models, absolutely share that with us. It's good for me, it's good for you, it's good for others that are also in the hobby. This is something that we all continue to learn from. I did not know about the JB Weld for maybe 3-4 weeks ago. And I think it's a must-have now. Likewise, I know pin vices have been around forever. I only recently just got them, and yeah, it's a tool I don't want to live without. The sanding sticks, I'm sure that has been around forever. I just finally got around to doing it, and yeah, it is super, super, super helpful. I've been using them a lot, like I said, on this model to get all the resin parts clearanced to hold the styrene parts, and it makes quick work of it. All right, And that being that, thank you for tuning in. We love your likes and subscribes and your comments and your shares. It helps me get, anyway, and I appreciate all of you. Thank you for watching Mark One Models.